My name's Kujo. It's Joe. Kujo is. I've been known as Kujo since like 6th grade. I work retail at a battery store. I've been a fan of wrestling since I was a kid, as I'm sure you've heard about a million times. I'm in this because it's both something I love doing, but it's also kind of more meaningful to me. But it's a place where I can actually be myself a little bit and be creative, and yeah, it's just something I enjoy to do. So yeah, if you need a battery, let me know. We have car batteries, we have light bulbs. I'm cutting a promo on my job. Yeah, that's me. I'm excited.
Who trained you?
Okay, so when I first started out, Tony Rican, I was working with him at Blitz out in Joliet, and he like pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, I'm training this kid. I just need an assistant. Do you want to come with?" I was like, "Sure, yeah." I was working as a manager at the time. I had no idea what I was doing, like even as a manager, but I went with him, and Tony eventually was just like, "You know what? Actually, it's. Do you want to just join up and start training too?" I was like, "Sure, screw it." So I trained in an 8x8 kids boxing ring for a good couple months. Found myself over to Fire Pro, where I started training with Bill Shelton. He wrestles as Kenny Courageous. And then from there, I've been training there for 3 years, and I'm just starting to get some more in-ring training from Bryce Benjamin out in Villa Park for underground wrestling. So it's kind of a amalgam of different places to train. But
who are your favorite wrestlers growing up?
As a kid, is a wee little one. Hulk Hogan was my Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. We actually had this phone, the house phone, because this was back in the day where cordless phones weren't a thing. So it was super long cord that would go from the kitchen to the family room, and I was such an Ultimate Warrior fan that while my mom or my sister or people were on the phone, I would take the cord and I would shake it up and down like Ultimate Warrior. I've made the phone fly out of their hands so many times. They hated me for it, but it was so much fun. The older I got, I actually found Edge to be one of my favorites. I thought his character was infectious. I thought the way he approached promo work and character work in the ring, and some of his spots and even his moveset was awesome. Yeah, Edge is going to be my number one for forever.
Is there anything in particular that inspires you to be a wrestler?
That is a toughie, because actually back in 2007, my cousin Lenny was going to go to Iraq, and I was stuck at ISU, not having any sort of clue what I wanted to do. And he sort of made it clear. He came up and visited me for one weekend, and it was super cool. It was right before he went overseas, and it was basically like, dude, if there's something you want to do, then just do it, and don't think back on it. Don't have that what if question. And he went and fought for his country, and in 2008 he actually lost his life in Iraq. And it wasn't until after that, and after dealing with losing somebody that close to me, that I sort of took those words to heart. Actually, the gear I'm going to be wearing tonight is to kind of pay homage to him. It's got my own flair, but I'm actually getting his initials, because if he was willing at 19 years old to go and fight for his country in Iraq, then why can't I go and be a pro wrestler? So that's probably one of the biggest driving forces for me being in this business, is that, like, if the best way to tell me I can do something is to tell me I can't do it. So that's sort of my philosophy with the business and with training and with everything. So
what advice would you have for people that want to become a pro wrestler?
I'm gonna use a line that I tell everybody, every new person I see. It is probably going to be the most difficult thing you've ever had to do. Now, that's not to say it's not rewarding. Before you can get in the ring and have fun and entertain people, there's a whole lot of work that you have to put into the business and put into training and paying your dues before you can get that. Now, for some that could be frustrating because it feels like you're hitting a dead end or you're not really doing what you love to do. But the more committed you are, and the more you show that this is something you're passionate about, the more wrestling bookers are going to look at that and think, hey, I might actually be able to use them on the show. They have a good passion for the business. On the literal side, it is the most difficult thing to do because it kills you. There were days when I'd get home from after the first couple months of training, and I'd look and I just have bruises just everywhere, and it's just that's how the business is, you know. You bust your ass, and if you bust your ass hard enough and you do it long enough and you show that this is something you are absolutely sure about doing, and if you prove yourself to whoever's training you, then you'll be able to go out and have fun and entertain people. That's how I look at it.
Then, have you had any injuries from pro wrestling?
Injuries are fun. When I was training a couple of years ago, I was putting myself through a whole lot of stuff. I actually had a little workshop with Prince Ali Mustafa. He was out in Villa Park too. And during one of his sessions, I kind of looked down because my legs were starting to feel weird, and I look and I see that my right knee, the outer edge of it, had swollen out. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? And my friend Peter, who's another worker and he's a physical trainer and all that stuff, looked and was like, get out of the ring now. So I was sidelined. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't really walk normally. And I finally went and got an MRI. And it turns out that in both of my knees, the cartilage right under my kneecap is damaged and scratched up and messed up. So there are times when my knees, there are days when my knees are totally fine and I can walk and hang out and jumping jacks and whatever, but there are other days, specifically towards the end of practices, where I'm like, I just want to sit down. You know, they're cramping, but it's manageable. I've certainly been blessed to not have anything worse happen to me. And to any of those guys who are working with far worse injuries, I have huge respect for them because that shows just how passionate they are.